Welcome to the IDRPP's Autism Echo. We're glad that you are joining us today. As you noticed, we are recording today's session. They are always available for you to go back and review, share with colleagues, re-listen to what is shared. I know sometimes for me, it takes a minute for it to settle into my brain, and so going back and reviewing them are always helpful. I need to always give this huge shout out to the Autism Council of Utah and the Autism Awareness License Plate for providing this funding. They are providing the funding that we can keep these trainings free of charge to all of you, and I just thank them a ton for providing that. If you've never attended an echo session, we have three main things that we do in an echo. And that is, one, we want to build that professional networking. So to know who we can reach out to throughout the state when we have a question or we want to follow up. So for instance, I see Kate Mortensen on the call. She's probably not loving I'm calling her out, but she is one of my colleagues, and I know that then she works in the up to 3 Part C early intervention program. So now I know if she shares something amazing on the call, I can follow up with her. So if you feel comfortable turning your cameras on and putting your contact information into the chat, it just helps us create that personal connection over Zoom. We will also always have a didactic speaker, and then we do a case presentation where we then go into small breakout rooms and hear from all of you amazing people on the call how to help support the families that we work with. If you are ever interested in doing a case presentation, please consider submitting one. It is such a valuable way to get resources and information on some families that might be a little tough to provide services for, or also just another validation that maybe what you're doing is on the right path if all of the professionals on this call think that. So it is interactive. Please feel free to put your questions into the chat. We have one of our amazing hub members. I didn't double check with him, but he did it last time. So Colin, will you monitor that chat for us again? All of our hub members have an asterisk in front of their names. So if you have any questions, they're easier to find if you wanted to chat with them. We do talk about sensitive topics and with the clients and population of families that we serve. So please just always remember to protect their individual privacy, de-identify any information. Rename your profile. Again, it is a way that we can just build that professional networking over Zoom and know that we have some colleagues throughout the state that are in the same situation as us and are always wanting to brainstorm and get ideas. Raising your hand, you can do that. Again, you can just put the information into chat and we will call on you, or Colin will ask your question. In order to get a credit of attendance, we do ask that you complete our survey. That survey is what we turn back into our funders as another way of keeping these resources and these echo sessions free of charge. So once you complete the survey, every month we mail out a certificate of attendance. Throughout today's session, Tony will be dropping in the survey link as well as the PowerPoints for today's session will also be on there. Canvas is where we store everything. Sometimes when we go into our small breakout groups, we're not always able to share all of the resources when we come back into a large one. So if you ever want to get all of those resources, those are on our Canvas page, as well as the recording, any of the handouts or information that our didactic presenter shares with us is also on there. Just another plug for those case studies. And sometimes it's not always comfortable to share that case study. Like the one we're doing today was submitted, but they did not want to present. So one of our hub members is actually presenting the case study. So that is another way that if you want to share your case and aren't comfortable in sharing it or talking on this Zoom call, that please know that we can also share your case study to us. We do have Facebook pages and Instagram, social media that we share information about all of the echoes that are offered here at the IDRPP, as well as resources and information that past presenters have shared with us that we get. So it's another way to just share those resources. So I am going to stop sharing and turn the time over to Kassidy. That is going to be giving us a great presentation on surviving the holidays. Oh, Kassidy, I lost you. I need to pin you for everybody. There you go.
There we go. Okay. Can you see that all right, Janelle?
Yep, perfect.
Okay. All right. So it's the beginning of that busy time of year, right? Everybody's getting ready for all of the different holidays. So today I'm going to talk to you about some of the things we do at our early intervention preschool. I'm the clinical director at the ASSERT Autism program. We serve kids on the autism spectrum between the ages of 3 and 5. We do lots of parent support, push into the homes twice a month, and they come here twice a month. So lots of interaction. So you'll see how some of these things are focused on parent preparation and how we support them. And then others are things that we also work on at our clinic. So today I really want to talk about how we can help families or our children really not just survive during the holidays, but also thrive and really enjoy the season. As a mom of 2 kids, I get that it is really an adventure every year and it can be really hard. And a lot of times I think it comes down to setting and adjusting expectations, which we'll go over, creating a plan, and then I have some holiday specific ideas that we'll go over as well. So oftentimes when I think of the holidays, this is what I'm thinking of, like really Americana, very Norman Rockwell, picture perfect, right? This is what I'm hoping for. And oftentimes this is what I end up with, right? Chaos. And I think nothing has more false pretense than I'm going to bake some cookies with a kid. Like that is, I like cooking, I like baking, but man, doing this with a child is just a different experience. So decorations often get destroyed when we think that something's going to be a fun adventure. It doesn't happen that way. So really thinking about how do we adjust our expectations and create a realistic plan for us and for our children that we're working with or that are our children. What are some things that we can do to prepare for? So one of the things that I think is most important is really just that planning ahead. What are things that could possibly happen? And then how are we going to address them? Like what problems might arise? Thinking through activities that you're going to attend. Think about maybe we have a little one who is learning to communicate and they're also potty training and they have lots of skills that we're working on. Thinking about behaviors or skills that we're going to relax on during events or throughout the holiday season and things that we're really going to keep pushing for, right? Like, yeah, we're going to keep working on communication. Yeah, we're going to keep working on potty training, but maybe there's times that, hey, do you know what? We're not going to get this other activity completed today, and that's okay. I think giving ourselves grace is a really important part of this too for the parents that we're either providing support to or that are on this call that are parents. So thinking about all of that before we ever get to the holidays is going to set us up for success instead of, oh no, I need to fight every battle or I need to follow through with everything that I'm doing at home or that we've been doing all year. Making a plan of, hey, here's the things that we're working on, here's the things that we're going to relax on, and discussing this with the families that we provide services to so that they feel like they don't have to take all of this on top of trying to get through or enjoy the holidays. And then also thinking about ways that we can prepare the child in advance. Like I said, we serve little ones, and there's so much excitement and so much chaos with every holiday. We have Halloween coming up next week, and Assert gets crazy with Halloween, which is so much fun. We also do a ton of preparation, which I'll show you guys in a few more slides. And like Janelle said, if you guys have any questions, please comment, and then we can have you guys hop in. So this is kind of another framework that we go through with our families. We talk about, all right, what is your goal? Like, is it to survive this event, or is it to fully participate? I often think about this as like family reunions. When it's my gigantic family getting all together, sometimes it's just about going and surviving, right? Like we're just going to all go do whatever we can and enjoy it. Or is it go and fully participate in this event? And what does that look like for you? What does that look like for your child? And then decide on expectations. Say, do you know what? The expectation of this, we just have them close and quiet and enjoying whatever activity they're doing. Or is it, hey, we're really working on greetings. Let's take them out and make sure that they're actually saying hi to the different people in our family. And then definitely preparing some rewards so you have something to provide that extra reinforcement for difficult situations or behaviors that we're working on. So thinking about what you're going to give and who's going to provide that. When we talk about recruiting some of those bossy older cousins, like preteens are fantastic. They want to be involved with the little kids a lot of times. And you can be like, hey, do you know what? You can help out with this activity, or you can do this thing. And then decide who's in charge or on call. So we create this training and we discuss this with our families about this time every year as well. And one of the favorite things that a family shared with us a few years ago is they said, whenever we go to an event, whoever's event it is or whoever's family it is, gets to enjoy and fully participate in that event. So if it's my family activity, I'm going to be enjoying that event. And then my husband is the one that's taking care of the kids. So if your child on the spectrum needs a break, or they need to leave, or it's time for a nap, or different things like that, the other person is taking care of all those things, so you don't have to miss out. And I was like, that is a genius idea. And then that also, I started doing that with my kids. And whenever I was at my in-laws, then I was the one that was getting to put them down for a nap, and my husband was really enjoying spending time with his family, but I also got a few minutes to relax myself. So I thought that was a really awesome practical idea that can be great if there's two parents involved. And then also having an escape plan in mind. Do we need to take 2 cars to this activity? Do we need to have an area that they can escape to? That kind of stuff. All right, so some other ideas for events. Another family discussed how they have a room at every activity they go to that they keep as an escape for their child to get away from crowds, to get away from loud noises, to get away from people taking their toys, all that kind of stuff. So they have just an area that they pop into, and they would have them in there like enjoying the party or the dinner activity for a while. And then when they started seeing some of the little behaviors start popping up that were kind of indicating, do you know what, we're getting dysregulated, we're not having a good time anymore, they popped over to that quiet room and let the kid have some time alone. You could do something where you have like a predetermined schedule that you're like, do you know what, we're going to do 15 minutes in the party and 5 minutes in the quiet room. Or maybe it's vice versa. Maybe it's 5 minutes in the party and then we're going to get a 15-minute break away from everybody. All of you have a much better idea of what that would look like for your clients or for your child. But thinking ahead, hey, what can we set up? How can we make this happen? One family also talked about how they would just take a pop-up tent because they didn't have an area that they could like have a room out of the way, but they had a little pop-up tent that had like the kids' tablet, some toys, I think a blanket that they really like. So they had an area that they could go into and be away from everybody. And then having activities and toys out that you know will entertain and engage, setting up yourself and your child for success. Like, hey, do you know what? We really want to keep working on them interacting with their cousins when they're together. Great, let's set up our favorite Toy Story toys. Maybe not ones that are like so personal that we can't share them, but having those activities set up so we have items that we're interested in, and then we can participate with other family members and play some activities. And then definitely facilitating activities if needed. Every kid's different, right? Like it might just be I'm close and I'm okay with being close to my other cousins around my age. And then, like we talked about in the previous slide, finding some little rewards. So here's just some ideas of what that could be. It could be some small candies. Skittles, started making Skittle Littles, which is the coolest thing I've ever seen. We used to cut up Skittles into quarters, and now they have teeny tiny Skittles. I mean, they're not that much smaller, but they're awesome. Some stickers, cookies, crackers, all that kind of stuff, stamps. Another really important thing is to set reminders and try to remember to catch them being good. This is something that's really hard for most parents because we are really good at not paying attention when they're doing the things that we want them to, right? They're playing, they're eating their food appropriately, all that kind of stuff. But when they're not, then we end up giving them a lot of attention or getting really frustrated. So one time, I'm a behavior analyst, and one time when my little boy was about 3 years old, I was working at home and I was doing something and he started throwing blocks at me. I was like, hey, don't throw blocks. And then I realized, oh, he needs some of my attention. So I set a little timer on my phone that would buzz every 5 minutes, and I'd be like, hey, what are you playing with? And the throwing blocks went away and we both had a much better day. So setting something like that, there's some really cool timers out there. There's some like time timer apps or just reveal app timers that you could put a picture of a thing and then that timer goes down and then it reveals the picture of the thing. So if you wanted to have like a little treat, say you're working on having them stay in an area at a dinner or something like that, and when the timer goes off, they get that little reward that's under, you can put your own pictures in, which is pretty neat. Some more ideas for events. If you guys are going to like a religious event or things like that, bring some quiet toys, iPads with headphones. It's so much easier. I was going through some of these and I was laughing. Like this one says music and DVD with headphones, but I was like, do you know what? Some people still have those little DVD players, and that's the jam. And then definitely making sure that you're arriving early to social gatherings to set up or get ready. Maybe that's a time that you bring 2 cars. Maybe, do you know what? We need to go get ready and set up at this place. Or maybe like the kiddo will do better coming in later. So you split that up that way. Or maybe it's, hey, we're going to do better with people trickling in slowly than walking into an entirely crowded room. Another really practical advice is keep an eye out for breakables. I love and hate the holiday season because there's so many new decorations that are usually at little children's height that are really shiny and beautiful and we want to touch. And then setting a time to leave. Like I said earlier, identifying those low-level signals when things are getting rough for your child, you're starting to see some of those inappropriate behaviors, and then be ready to leave at that point. So we're not leaving when it's a full-blown tantrum, they're not crying, screaming, all that kind of stuff. But maybe you're noticing, do you know what? This is the time that we're going to leave. Or maybe, hey, bedtime is around 8:30. We really need to leave by 7 to get through our whole bedtime routine without having a huge blow up at home too. And it's way better to leave while things are going well instead of when they're a knockdown drag out fight. And we talked about this already. I get excited about that one. I just think it's such a practical idea to have people take turns and that kind of stuff. All right, so that's just kind of the intro part of this. And now we're going to talk about some more general ideas that would fit throughout different holiday seasons and as well as just other times of the year too. So traveling can be a big part of the holidays too, which can be really exhausting and really hard for little ones. These are some other ideas that some families have shared too, making sure that we have some of their favorite items in the car, favorite treats, that kind of stuff. I really love these busy bag ideas. So these watercolor paintbrush books are awesome. So you fill up the little tube with water and then they can paint in the book and then it dries and they can paint again. So it's kind of an ongoing activity that's really nice. Doing little things like this where you have a water bottle or even like a seasoning jar that they're putting pom-poms in, or oh, I can't think of the long fuzzy things. You can put those in too. Stickers, notebooks that they can doodle in. I love this idea of the window clings too. It's a little bit hard when they're in car seats and cars, but on an airplane, it's really easy for them to sit there and put some items up on the window. This is another great one if we have a hard time waiting for things, and visuals can be support or be helpful. Having the places that we're going, or even drawing a picture or putting pictures of people that we're going to see at different places. And then having a little card that you move across. I think it's just a piece of like masking tape that they put up. And then this is a picture of the family, and they move as they get closer to the destination. So you could even have pre-programmed breaks in, like, oh, we're going to stop at McDonald's here. That's your favorite. We're going to have that as like a little reminder. And then some other ideas that people have talked about with airline travel is using early boarding, which I was always like, oh, I don't want to go sit on the plane longer than I need to with my kids. So, but one of the families shared, they're like, no, 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 have one parent go in without the kids, go set up everything, put the bags in, get the favorite things out, get the tablet out, get whatever out they need, get the snacks ready. And then later on in the boarding process, have the other parent and the child come onto the plane. My sister has a son who is 24 and is on the autism spectrum. And I remember when they were traveling, they lived in Hawaii. And I remember the times that she had to travel alone with her 3 little boys and how hard that was. And it can be a really tricky thing to plan and get ready for these things. So I think the more support and ideas that we can give to the families that we're working with is going to be really helpful. All right. Another idea is we're going to see lots of relatives during the holidays usually. So some ways that we've talked about supporting our kiddos with the family members they're going to interact with is we could do some communication with family members just to make sure that they know kind of what the expectations are or what's going on with our child. So often I think we feel like the families that we've worked with feel very uncomfortable talking about accommodations or things that they need for their child. And I think really empowering them to say, like, do you know what? Your family is going to be supportive, and it's much easier to talk about these things preemptively than have it be an issue that comes up and it's in the heat of the moment. So one thing we talk about is food selectivity, like say, hey, do you know what? For Thanksgiving dinner, so-and-so is not going to be eating any of this. We are going to be coming with Little Caesars pizza, and it's not your cooking, Aunt Jean. Like, it's fine. Your cooking is fantastic. We can't wait to eat it. But right now, these are the foods that he likes to eat, and that's what we're going to do so we can enjoy the dinner together. This isn't necessarily easy, but it can be really helpful for them to understand. And then also talking about, hey, do you know what? My child might have a hard time with large groups, or they don't respond to greetings. So no matter how many times you say it over and over again, they're not going to say hi back. Talk about how the child communicates. That one was such a cool one that a family shared too, is they sent a little short video of their child using like some picture communication and to their family members, so they knew how their child was going to be communicating, and they like talked about how amazing it was and how supportive even like young kids were, because they knew what to expect and they were able to facilitate some of those communication skills with the child, which I think is awesome. And then saying, hey, do you know what? When challenging behaviors happen, this is what we're going to do. I really don't need your help. And if you have things, advice, during the moment isn't when I want to talk about it. We can talk about it some other time. And then maybe even, hey, maybe we have some really interesting like topics that we like to talk about, or like things that we collect, maybe letting family members know, hey, these are the items that my child loves. And then something we do at Assert is we help them work on identifying family members. So we do some like picture identification. We'll be like, touch grandma, touch grandpa, and work on receptive and expressive language that way. But I've also had families who have made like little picture books that they work on their family members with. Another family talked about how video chats have been so helpful, because then they know who people are more, because they've seen them more often than maybe the once or twice a year that they get to see them around the holidays. Food, I think, is such a stressful situation for a lot of the families that I work with. one family talked about how they always feed them before any party that they go to. Like, then we're not running into a hungry kid or a hangry kid in different situations, that it's just much easier to feed them what they're going to eat before the party. And then if they want to snack on things at the party, great. But then we're not expecting dinner to be at 7 and it doesn't happen till 8 or whatever. I was like, that's great. That's a variable that you can control before. And then definitely talking about how if you have a selective eater, that this isn't necessarily the time that we're going to be working on food, but maybe there's some other things that we can help with, like maybe they'll help pass out things or that kind of stuff. So often families are like, oh, well, this is the time to work on trying new foods. And most of the time we advise them, yeah, if trying new foods isn't a difficult thing, go for it. But if it's something that's going to cause you and your child heartburn at the Thanksgiving dinner table, that's not the time to practice that. And it might be also a time to pull out those big reinforcers, iPad and phone. Sometimes that's what we're going to make it through those activities. And if that's going to make it more enjoyable for you and your child, that can be fine. Like, I think sometimes it's really hard. I find myself guilting myself a lot about using technology ever with my kids. And sometimes that's what's going to help us enjoy that activity. And it doesn't mean that they need to sit on the phone all day or at every activity, but that means you get to finish your dinner at Thanksgiving. Cool. I think everybody's going to understand that situation. I really thought this meme was funny. You could take your kids to a restaurant where you could cut out the middleman and just spill a drink, throw crayons under the table, and light $40 on fire. Janelle thought that was funny. Thanks, Janelle. Some ideas for going out to restaurants.
I did, Kassidy. That was hilarious because it's absolutely true.
Right?
It's also the idea of just buying a box instead of all the toys.
Absolutely. Which we're also going to talk about today.
Right. Thank you so much for making me laugh.
I think you'll like this next meme too. So going out to restaurants, taking some preferred snacks and activities, use small rewards for appropriate behaviors. One thing one of our case managers used to do whenever we would go out as a group, this was before I was a mom, she would always, like, while people were doing like drinks and appetizers and that kind of stuff, she would always order her kids' meal at the very beginning of the dinner. So their food would come like at the beginning of the meal. And so the kid was never waiting for their food, which was awesome until the one time that it didn't work. And then they forgot about the pizza and the kid waited forever. So cool thing when it does work. And then other ideas is like consider going somewhere familiar that you know what to order. And then another idea that a family had is they always look up the menu online before to figure out if their kid will eat something at that restaurant. And if not, then they'll either bring other food or that kind of stuff or feed them before. You can also just have one of the parents be dropped off at the entrance and then look at the menu while the other's in the car. So we're not taking as long to order. A lot of times that early age it's really hard to sit and wait. So another funny is parents, can we take this to go? Waiter, but your food hasn't even arrived. Kid, pterodactyl opera, waiter, we'll bag it right up for you. So yes, sometimes it's an adventure. All right, holiday specific ideas. So we're going to talk about some pre-planning things that we can do with these different categories, and we'll go into more detail into each one of them. So wearing new or special clothes. So you can think about this as like, hey, do you know what? Grandma has just bought me a really fancy dress that I have to wear for these family pictures. And it's made of tulle, and I really hate different textures of clothing besides cotton. What are some things that we can do? So oftentimes when we're doing trick-or-treating too, families will say, oh, like they're really obsessed with Toy Story, but they won't wear their costume because they don't like the texture or they don't like this, that, or the other. So sometimes we'll walk through and say, okay, what do you think it is about these clothes that are hard for them to wear? Is it just because they're different and they haven't been exposed to it? Or is it because it's itchy or there are tags in it? That kind of stuff. We can make lots of alterations or put things under different clothes. We can also just practice wearing the new clothes, have them put them on for a little bit, maybe just a few minutes or even less, maybe like 30 seconds, be like, yeah, you wore your wig. Also being mindful about what we're buying is really tricky too. Sometimes we really want that fun experience of buying the really outrageous, fun little costume, and maybe that's not going to be the most exciting thing for this kid. So when we're practicing wearing clothes, what we'll do is we'll have them put them on, wear them for a little bit, give them some treat, or toy that's really highly preferred as a reinforcer, and just give that as like, oh my gosh, you're wearing your clothes, way to go. And then gradually increase that amount of time that they're wearing it. Definitely shoot for a reasonable amount of time to be, like, for the outfit to be worn. If grandma bought the outfit and they're not going to show up until like 2 p.m. that day, then don't put the child in that outfit until right before she arrives, or maybe even right after she arrives. So she can see the outfit, but there's no expectation to have it on for a long time. They talk about this with family pictures too, that, hey, don't put the kid in the outfit until right before. So for trick-or-treating, there's so many prerequisite skills for trick-or-treating, and a lot of times we don't think about all the things that go into it. And it can be really fun or really, really hard for families that are taking their little ones out. So some things that we could practice before, working on knocking, that fine motor skill, kind of gross motor, working on the knock. Waiting is another tricky part, right? Like, we have to knock and then we have to wait a little bit until the person gets the bowl and comes to the door, all that kind of stuff. Choice making can be really hard when we're practicing at a cert. We have a couple different areas that we'll set up. We'll have like one of the office doors closed and our toy closet closed, and we'll have people sitting in there with bowls of candy. And sometimes we'll have the door open and the kid just needs to walk up and say trick or treat and take a treat. Sometimes we give them the treat. So practicing like, oh, I'm not getting my preferred treat that I wanted to pull out of the bowl. Sometimes it's the door is closed and they need to knock and we wait, or maybe we like open the door and say like, happy Halloween, and like wearing a mask, or different, not scary masks. Obviously, we're not traumatizing children, but different things, like giving them a variety of opportunities and saying, oh, sometimes you don't get to pick the treat, or you need to pick the treat in a reasonable amount of time. We can't stand there and search through the bowl for a long time. So if those are things that the child needs to work on, those are things that we could work on before trick-or-treating to make it more successful. Other things that we work on are the communication skills involved, trick or treat, and saying thank you. We actually do a lot with picture communication, and then we also use a lot of scripts, which we use auditory scripts. I don't know if I shared my audio, actually. We'll try it and see. So there's another one of these buttons underneath this card. So we actually let the families take these during trick-or-treating, but we practice this for a few weeks beforehand. And what we'll do is, these are just buttons that you would put in like a Build-A-Bear, and you can record your voice on them. So usually we record kids' voices, but for, you know, confidentiality, that kind of stuff, we just used the adult voices on these videos. So let me see if I can.
Kassidy, it's not
doing.
So if you go up to your view options, it should give you an option to share your sound. Kind of that same tool that was where you shared screen at.
Okay. Share sound. There we go. All right, let's try this one more time.
Trick or treat. Trick or treat. Trick or treat.
So maybe the child just needs some auditory prompting. We can use this little button by itself, or we could use this with the visual. Some kiddos need that little reminder of what to say. Some kids are going to use that picture exchange card to communicate. And sometimes it's nice just to have that button, so when they walk up, they say trick or treat. Yeah, it's really fun to watch them. A lot of times with these models or these scripts, we'll see the kids start independently saying it. One of my little ones just started this week. I heard yesterday, of course, when I wasn't here, he said it without the button. Like, he pushed the button and then he also said it, which was really exciting.
And on that, we did have a question from the chat, and was, where do you purchase the auditory button?
Yeah, Lindsay, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we get them on Amazon. I was like, and I think usually they come in like a decent bundle of them too.
Yeah, they're on Amazon now. They used to not be, but now they are. So.
Yeah, there was like this like random website that Lindsay would be able to buy them from. Yeah, so they're really cool. We use them a lot for a lot of other things, not just trick-or-treating. If you guys want more info about that, feel free. My email is on the last slide as well. So Taking pictures is another thing that happens around every holiday. We had a really fun discussion last year about this, and one of the dads, we were talking about how like in these like very posed pictures that we're taking with our families and that kind of stuff, how like here's some really practical fun ideas. And then he's like, I also really just like taking pictures of my kid when they're actually enjoying the things that they're doing, and those are the ones that I like the most. And I was like, oh, I really like that. So for post pictures, here's some ideas. One thing, on most DSLR cameras, you can put these Pez dispensers on top, so you could get a favorite character and you can just slide it in where you would typically slide the flash in. Another one is you could get a little scrunchie and make their favorite character on it. Or something that we use all the time at Assert to get kids to look when we're taking pictures is we turn on like a little music video. So maybe I'm taking the picture and then the person who's behind me will hold up a video so they're looking in our general direction. Sometimes it's like just like spinny, or like sometimes kids are like just very individual. Sometimes it's just the music that like gets them to look in our direction. So it just depends. Every kid is different, but there's some ideas of how to get them to look in the direction of the camera. We've also worked on this without any of these things and worked on just a program where we're practicing taking pictures. So like, it's time to take a picture, smile, and we'll practice smiling and practice looking at the camera and all that kind of stuff. Because for some families, this is a big deal. Janelle, how are we doing on time?
You are still good. You
Okay.
have about 15 minutes.
Oh, beautiful. Okay. We can definitely get through the rest. All right. So gifts. I think this is one of the trickiest things that families find is gifts when we're unwrapping things and how that looks, and it can be disappointing for them or the kids. This is one that I feel like we have to adjust our expectations, and I have some really awesome things that families have shared with us in the past. So excitement at presents, you could definitely practice. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the video. I tried to embed a GIF and it would not let me. But there's the video of the little boy who unwraps an avocado, and he unwraps it and he's like, it's an avocado, thank you, and practices like saying thank you. That is something that we can definitely pre-teach, is like wrapping items. We do this a lot at Assert to practice not like how to act excited and say thank you, all that kind of stuff. And then we also talk to the families about like, hey, if you need gift ideas, like chat with your case manager or your team or your teacher, all those kind of things, to see who like might have ideas of things that they like, oh, maybe they're really, really into puzzles at their preschool right now. I think maybe that's something that we could add into the gift list, that kind of stuff. And then what if kids like to unwrap presents more than they actually like to play with them? Sometimes you might wrap a lot of items then. Maybe it's not even a lot of things in, maybe it's just like, say it's a like little people play set. Maybe you're wrapping each individual little people so they're enjoying that unwrapping because that's what they really like to do. We also practice not unwrapping gifts, keeping presents wrapped. So sometimes we'll set up like a little area in their like little workspace at Assert or even out in the classroom to work on. It's not time to open it yet. We have to wait. Some families also talked about how sometimes kiddos would like to just enjoy the toy and not like move on to the next thing. And we talked about how there's kind of two different options. Like we can either like take it slow and just enjoy the whole day and let them unwrap them as they're interested in moving on. Or we could say, do you know what, we're going to give them 5 minutes with each thing, and then we're going to prompt them to move to the next activity or the next unwrapping. Another thing a family does is they wrap each kid's presents in different colors so that it's very clear to siblings and to the child which ones are theirs, like are their presents, because most of our kiddos at this age don't identify their name and most of them don't have color matching skills. So this is definitely one that can help siblings as well. Some other ideas that we have with wrapping gifts, instead of like getting the present wrapped with all these frilly things and bows and stuff like that, that can be really frustrating sometimes, putting things in gift bags so it's very easy, and there's that like really quick reinforcement of I opened it, I get the thing right away, there's no waiting. We also talk about how taking the packaging apart before you're unwrapping presents can help. Making sure there's batteries and things before, so that you're not struggling to find a screwdriver in the morning and getting frustrated, all that kind of stuff. So I think for me, sometimes it's hard, like, and a lot of the families that I've talked to, they're like, but I really want them to have the experience of like unwrapping the gift and taking it apart and unpackaging it and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, but is that enjoyable for the child? And if it is, great, do it however you would like. If it's not, we can make some adjustments. Maybe they don't have the fine motor skills to like pull things apart and that kind of stuff. Make it easy and make it better for everybody. We also talk about decorating and how there's lots of fun things now that we can get that are going to make it easier for our kiddos to play with things. I think a lot of families that celebrate Christmas, they often have, like, grandma has like a very special nativity scene hanging out in a place that might not be the easiest to protect. My mom bought this one a long time ago and has had it, and I think it's such a fun thing that it makes it so the kids can play with it. Also limiting decorations on trees if you really want to, having a little tree or having a felt tree that the kids can play with, and working on that discrimination, like, nope, this is the tree you can play with, and like prompting them over to that instead of touching the other tree. I've also seen families put like baby gates all the way around Christmas trees, which I was like, oh, that's really smart. And they're like, then they're not unwrapping them too. So shopping is also another thing that I find myself doing a lot of during the holidays, and I don't enjoy it. So here's some ideas that you could do. One thing is, my bag half the time gets left in the car, or it's full of other things, and finding like the reinforcer or the treat or the like little thing that we're giving as a reward throughout the day shopping might get lost. But we've done this where we just hole punch it and then just put it on a carabiner. It's just a little Ziploc bag, and then you can quickly open it and give the child a treat. You can also set up like a little schedule. We did this one digitally just on a phone, and the family would be like, all right, we're going to get in the car, we're going to go shopping, then we're going to go to the park, then we're getting back in the car, and then we're going to go home. So there was a little bit of a schedule throughout the day, so the child knew, okay, we're going to the park, but we're not going to the park first. We're going to the park after shopping. Purchasing presents. A lot of the families ask like, oh, well, what toys should they be playing with at this age? And that can be a really tricky question for a lot of the kids that we work with, at least at a CERT. So a lot of times we talk about, hey, maybe find something that's going to work, that's going to be fun for them to play with, but is something that they can work on fine motor skills. So maybe like Mr. Potato Head, where they're working on putting things in, or maybe they're working on turn taking. Maybe find a game that they could play with you that's an easy game. It's just taking turns putting the hamburgers in the pig. Or hey, they really love visual stimulation. Let's get them a toy that maybe mom and dad think is younger than it should be for them, but it's something that the kid's going to really enjoy. So finding things that there's that balance of, all right, what are the things we're working on, the skills we're working on, or the things we want to teach them to play with, and what are the things that they're actually going to enjoy. One family talks about how they got frustrated every year when they spent so much time shopping, and they felt so sad that their kids didn't enjoy the toys that they had like spent so much time thinking about and figuring out what to get. And one year the mom was like, I just really want to buy him goldfish. Goldfish are the things that he loves. So they did it. And she bought like different sizes and different packages of goldfish and wrapped them all. And she's like, it was the best Christmas we've ever had. She's like, it was outstanding. She's like, he was happy, I was happy, everyone was happy. She's like, there was no like, oh, they're not interested in this. She's like, I bought a couple things that I wanted them to learn to play with and I wanted them to do, but it was so much better for us because we weren't fighting the battle of like our own disappointment in what was happening. So I think that's a really cool idea of balancing teaching, but also balancing what are things they're actually going to enjoy, which is going to ultimately make unwrapping presents way more reinforcing for the child. We also talk about how to fill the hours, making sure to like stick to those regular timings of things that happen consistently, like wake up time, bedtime, meals, try and keep those consistent, because when we're not getting enough sleep and we're not eating at our usual times, that can increase the likelihood that we're going to see more of those behaviors we would like to not see. And then sticking to a regular routine, like reading books before bed, watching cartoons. I'm definitely not a person who is like a very rigid schedule follower, but I am very much into routine. So like making sure that my kids stay in the same routine has been really helpful. Because I think some families are like, oh, well, I have to schedule out every minute. I'm like, no. You should enjoy your break, but finding times that like this is what we've done usually, and this is going to make it easier to go back into our regular routine going forward. And then here's some just ideas of little 5 to 10 minute activities that you could do with your child throughout the day. I think sometimes it's so hard because it's so cold in the fall and winter that we're not getting outside. But having some activities that you could do outside, put them in the snowsuit and walk to the park, like get out of the house and get some fresh air, do some fun activities, then do some maybe things that you want to work on fine motor, like puzzles or maybe some coloring or Play-Doh or that kind of stuff. And then also something that we do a lot of assert is something called activity schedule, which if you guys want more information, please reach out. But this is something that we help families set up. So it's basically just a set of pictures that cue a kid to follow a schedule of play activities. And they do it independently. That's the goal. And this is something that a lot of families like doing during the holiday break because it gives them a little bit of routine too. And then there's a lot of fall and winter fun free activities. And then trying to enlist some help, because if these little ones are getting some services, maybe they are old enough for preschool, or maybe they're under that age, but if they're in preschool and family have a routine of, oh my gosh, this is when I like get my laundry done, is when he's at school and I'm really struggling, trying to enlist friends and family to support you or to help you and maybe engage with that child so you can have 15 minutes to yourself, or maybe so you can play with that child. And then sometimes it's not just about filling up all the hours, like finding things that you guys are going to actually enjoy is what's important. I really love, a couple years ago, we had someone come to our family, I guess it was last year too, came to one of our parent meetings and they talked about burnout and all that kind of stuff. So I added this information because I think it's really powerful, is just talking about self-care. And I think a lot of times the families are not taking care of themselves during the holidays. We're so busy taking care of everybody and wanting to make sure everything's perfect. We're worrying about the family we're going to visit. We're worrying about our own children, all that kind of stuff. Thinking about self-care, and like it doesn't be a spa day. I think that's so often what we think of, like, oh, I'm gonna go get my hair done or I'm gonna go get a massage. Self-care for me a lot of times just means like stepping outside and taking a deep breath and having a moment to myself, listening to a podcast or some music, eating something that sounds good to you, setting boundaries and expectations. One thing that me and my husband have decided is that we are not going to spend all of December shopping and getting ready for the holiday. Like, we are going to enjoy December. We're going to actually have rest and relaxation and have coziness. That's what we will all crave in the holidays, for us at least. And shopping is not what I want to do. So we're going to get it done, not spend a lot of time on it, and enjoy our family. And then also thinking about expectations that, do you know what? No, we still are going to follow the same expectations when we go to grandma's house. And these are the non-negotiables. Saying no is also a form of self-care, not attending every single event. And then making sure you recognize when you're starting to feel burnout. Like, you got to take care of you so you can take care of everybody else. It's like that oxygen mask situation, right? On a plane, like you have to put yours on first before you can take care of someone else. And then these are just some like cute little ABCs of self-care. So I think that's an important thing to remember going into all of these events. Is I feel like from the beginning of October until the middle of January is just rush, and really busy and trying to make sure everybody's having a good time. And sometimes it's okay to just say no and do the things that are going to actually be enjoyable for you and your child. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I saw that they put the slides in the chat. So if you guys have anything you need, please let us know.
Kassidy, that was awesome. Thank you so much for it. And again, for your little memes. If nobody else enjoyed them, I did for sure. We have a few minutes for questions and answers. If anybody has a question they want to pose to Kassidy, feel free to put it in chat or come on mute.
really a question. I'm new to
Okay.
the ECHO team.
Uh-huh.
I've worked with children with disabilities for over 30 years. And I'm just, how open are you guys to having parents call you directly, or do you have a parent panel? Do you have parent options, like a section where parents could call in, write in, email? I have a kiddo right now that will not take his shoes off at all. So again, some problem solving, like where could I guide a family to go to? This was wonderful, by the way. Absolutely. I can put my video on. I'm at home. I'm in Montana. I just think this would be so helpful. If do you guys have options for parents to join, or panel, or some kind of options for parents to actually directly contact you guys? Or
Yeah, parents are always welcome to attend the ECHO sessions.
okay,
The biggest thing that I think would be helpful for families and providers is really that case presentation. And that's the next portion of our ECHO
okay,
session, is that we have a case. It's actually a case that a participant submitted, and we're then all going to discuss it and get a ton of resources and valuable information that you can utilize with it. So that would be something that family could do.
and it will be recorded because I have another meeting at 1, unfortunately. But are all these case presentations
Case
recorded?
studies are not
Because
recorded.
it's confidential, right? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I have another coworker I see that's on, so maybe I could chat with him after this. But this was amazing. I have 6 kiddos on my caseload right now with the diagnosis of autism, and we are coming into the difficult time, and the snow is going to start here any day, and then everyone's getting sick, including me. So again, giving those like, oh, I'm stuck in the house, like just having everybody just, it's okay. I have one family moving right now. So again, all these little, I love the auditory buttons. I didn't know that those were there. So, okay, I will stop here because I'll just talk to you guys for the whole day. But fabulous, fabulous.
Yeah.
I mean, good job.
Thank you so much. They also have bigger buttons too.
Yeah.
So if it's difficult for the child to point, there's bigger buttons that are really accessible now versus what.
Yeah, because before you'd have to like switch toys and you'd have to, they were more complicated, but knowing
And they
that
were so
there's
expensive.
options. And I have a grandson that's on the spectrum that I'm like, I'm gonna be telling mom to be watching for you guys and sign up. Okay, I'll get off now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Does anybody else have any comments or questions? Okay, so we have a case, and our amazing hub member, Lindsay, is presenting the case for us today. So Lindsay, I'm sharing my screen. Did it share?
Yes,
Okay.
there we go. Perfect. All right, so as Janelle mentioned, this is a case presentation that someone presented, so I don't have background information besides what I will be discussing. So if there's additional questions, I won't be able to answer those, but I will share what this participant presented. So if you want to go to the next slide. Thanks, Janelle. Okay, so here is some background information on Alex. And I don't know if this is a boy. Oh, I guess it says he there. So there you go. A boy named Alex. And he is 25 months old, and his family recently moved to Utah from Colorado, where he received OT and PT. And the mom is concerned about his overall development and slightly concerned about autism. So he has Prader-Willi syndrome, which I don't have a lot of experience with. So I will tell you what I researched and found out, that it's a rare genetic disorder that results in a number of physical, mental, and behavioral problems. And a key feature of Prader-Willi is that it is a constant sense of hunger that usually begins at about 2 years old. So people with Prader-Willi syndrome want to eat constantly because they never feel full. And so they usually have trouble controlling their weight. So many of the complications of this syndrome are due to obesity. And so that's a little bit about Alex, and he has an army crawl, and that's how he gets around. So that's his mobility. And so mom's main concern is that why she's concerned about autism is because he does not respond to his name, flaps his hands, and examines toys very closely. He also does not seem to be very social or make good eye contact. And he is not yet babbling and will not let them know when he is hungry. So those sound like very valid concerns. Some additional information is that he recently had the BDI-3 completed, and that showed severe delays in all areas except for fine motor. And his IFSP is still in the process of being developed. And mom is concerned and wonders if there are often dual diagnoses with Prader-Willi and autism. And so for our discussion today, here are the 3 different questions that we'll be talking about. Are there primary care doctors that could support the family with Prader-Willi syndrome and potentially autism? 2, because food is a concern with Prader-Willi, mom would like to find other motivating ways to help him communicate that do not involve food, and wants to know how she could go about doing that. And then 3, what should the providers focus on for his IFSP goals?
Thank you, Lindsay, for sharing that.
That can help with the diagnosis and teasing out autism from the Prader-Willi. Missoula, Montana has a mobile clinic to help with autism diagnosis, but they are 2 years. They had a 2-year wait list. And then we also just talked about it. We weren't aware of any like primary care doctors that specifically focus on Prader-Willi, so we didn't have many ideas for that, but we did talk about figuring out what support system she currently has and how to build on that team with whatever other specialists that she would need to help with the different concerns that she has.
Awesome.
We did keep going.
Right, we just wanted one. Just one. You can keep going, but we'll get to Joe's group. So Joe, what did your group have? Thanks, Justin.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my group focused mainly on question 2, which is finding other motivations that we can use besides food to help them communicate. And a lot of it was talking about revolving around activities that he finds most reinforcing, and then creating a way where he has to communicate for it. So either holding on to a piece of the game, taking a piece of the puzzle that he doesn't have access to, but also making sure it's a high enough preferred activity that he's going to be engaged, but not too high that he's going to get so focused that he's not responding, and not too low where if he doesn't get the piece, he's going to walk away.
Awesome. Great. And then Colin, are you the last group?
I believe so. Yeah, and much of what ours was, or our question was, are there any primary care doctors that can support the family with Prader-Willi syndrome and potential autism? We also had the same thought process as the other group, which was, connecting the family to a quality provider who could give an autism diagnosis if it is autism. I did a little jump onto PubMed, and about 35% of kids with Prader-Willi have co-occurring autism, which is an extremely high number. So that's about 10 times the average of the regular population. I think UDAC does have a fast track for kids under 3, so that's a great option. But there are other providers out there as well. So
I did not realize it was that high, Colin, with Prader-Willi syndrome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, not awesome, but good to know that that is co-occurring, because that was one of mom's questions, it sounds like, in the case study. So Great. Well, thank you all for joining today. Again, if you will just send in those recommendations to Project Echo at aggies.usu.edu. We will compile those. They will all be sent out to the person who presented the case, as well as for you guys to go and look at with that. Our next session is going to be November 27th, and we have Dr. Chuck Edgington. Did I say the last name right, Colin?
Yes.
Okay. And he is going to be talking to us about identifying autism in toddlers. So we look forward to seeing you all in November, and enjoy the rest of your warm, cold, rainy, whatever weather you have day.